Today, I'll be sharing with you some top questions based on biology. And of course, it is going to be question mix under different topics, which we can use to improve our biological knowledge and skills in tackling exam questions. So we are going to proceed with the first question here. Which part of the brain controls balance and coordination? A. The cerebrum. B. Medulla oblongata. C. Cerebellum. And D. Hypothalamus. Which of these options is correct? The correct option here is option C, the cerebellum. Of course, the cerebellum plays this specific function of making sure that it controls balance, and it has specific function of making sure that it coordinates muscle activity, and as a result it tends to maintain posture and balance. It is the most important function of the cerebellum. So correct option here is option C. Let's proceed to the next question. Which blood cells are responsible for immunity? We have A, the red blood cell, B, platelet, C, the white blood cell, and D, plasma cell. Which option is correct? The correct option here is option C, the white blood cell. So the specific function of the white blood cell is to make sure that it defends the body against pathogens through phagocytosis and also antibody production. Those are the main function of the white blood cell, to make sure that they defend the body against pathogens by making sure that they use the process of phagocytosis or producing antibodies to fight against diseases and infections. Which hormone is responsible for regulating blood glucose level? Which hormone regulates blood glucose level? We have option A, adrenaline, option B, insulin, option C, tyrosine, and D, estrogen. Which is correct? The correct option is insulin. Insulin is responsible for making sure that it brings down the blood glucose level when it tends to be very high. And when it does so, it actually encourages the uptake of glucose into the cells. Therefore, the lack of insulin is actually going to lead to diabetes mellitus. Of course, if we look at the explanation of this, when we talk about the insulin, its major role is to make sure that it controls the blood sugar level. When the blood sugar level in the blood arises, what happens is the insulin is being secreted. Once the insulin is secreted, it causes the conversion of these sugar level to glucose, which is being stored in the liver in the form of glycogen. That is the conversion of the insulin. There is a conversion of the blood sugar level to glycogen absorbed by cells. Of course, this insulin is being produced from the islet of the Langerhans. We have the alpha and the beta cell. These two, they actually perform function in an antagonistic manner. That is, when the blood sugar level arises, insulin is being secreted. And when it is lacking, then of course there will be a way for insulin that is for glycogen to be reconverted back to glucose, which can be used as source of energy. So the good option here is option B, which is insulin, that plays the role to regulate the blood sugar level by making sure that it converts the insulin to glycogen stored in the liver when its amount in the blood is very high. Let's proceed to the next question. Which structure connects muscle to the bone? A, ligament, B, tendon, C, cartilage, D, joint. Which is correct here? The correct answer is tendon. It is the major role of the tendon to make sure that it connects muscle to bones. So of course, tendons are very strong and fibrous tissue that transmit the force of the muscle contraction to bones, enabling movement. The specific function here is actually B, which is correct, as tendon responsible for attachment of muscles to bones, which regulate movement easily. Next question. Which process removes metabolic waste from the body? We have A, respiration, B, nutrition, C, excretion, D, reproduction. Of course, we know it is excretion, which is option C. It is one of the ways that the body can actually eliminate toxic product from our system through excretion. Of course, excretion helps to eliminate waste product such as, for example, urea from our system. Okay, let's go to the next question. This is because if it is being left to accumulate in the body, it's going to be poisonous, which can even cause death. So let's look to the next. Which kidney structure is the functional unit? We have A, nephron, B, glomerulus, C, pelvis, D, ureter. The correct option here is the nephron. We already know that the functional unit of the kidney is known as the nephron. So the nephron is the functional unit of the kidney. And of course, they have major role making sure that it reabsorbs useful substances, especially to form when urine has been formed. We have millions of this nephron in order to ensure efficient filtration. Let's look at next question. Which process produces genetically identical cells? Which process produces genetically identical cells? We have option A, meiosis. We have option B, fertilization. Option C, mitosis. Option D, mutation. The correct option here is C, mitosis. So it is mitosis that produces two identical daughter cells for growth. So the correct answer is C, which is mitosis. Let's proceed to the next. Which factor does not affect enzyme activity? We have A, temperature. We have B, pH level. We have C, substrate concentration. D, light intensity. Which of these options does not affect enzyme activity? The correct answer is light intensity. Whether the light intensity increase or not, it does not affect any enzyme activity. But options like temperature, pH, and substrate concentration tends to affect enzyme activity. So let's move to the next question. Which disease is caused by deficiency of vitamin C? A, rickets. B, scurvy. C, beriberi. D, pellagra. The correct answer is option B, scurvy. When you lack vitamin C, you start to turn as if you are having some kind of rashes on your body due to lack of vitamin C. That is called the scurvy, for it is the lack of vitamin C due to that is essential for collagen formation. When you don't have this, it tends to have to produce those scar on your body, which we term it as scurvy. And of course, it may sometimes lead to gums bleeding and as well as poor wound healing. So vitamin C is very essential in our body. Let's proceed to the next. Which ecological term refers to the role of an organism in its environment? A, habitat. B, population. C, niche. D, community. The correct option here is option C, which is niche. Of course, if you look at the definition of niche, it actually includes how organisms feed, how the organism reproduce, and also how it interacts with the environment, not just where it lives. So that is why niche is the correct answer here. And if you want to see even more questions like this, then you want to make sure that you go ahead to like, comment, and subscribe, enabling the notification bell icon so that anytime we publish a new update, you'll be the very first to watch and to learn new things. See you in the next upload, and bye-bye for now.